Good morning, Lena Harris here. I explained in yesterday's video that Siouxsie, that one way to create relaxation in your horse before you put them to work, in order to prevent work, undersaddle work in particular, from becoming a completely aversive situation where the horse associates discomfort, overly exerting themselves, whatever work may entail. We don't want what precedes the work to also be aversive. So we want to make that as relaxing and pleasant as possible. And so one of the things that makes horses very relaxed is freedom. Now I have a lead rope and Siouxsie's in a halter, just to show, I mean, this is what life is like. Most of our horses are in halters and we use lead ropes. There is a black Rubbermaid trough here and it's full of finely chopped alfalfa. And you can see she's pretty interested in eating just the alfalfa. She's completely free. She can walk away whenever she wants. If she hears something in the woods, she can stand alert, assess, and she can, because she's free to run or escape, let's see how she manages the stimulus in the woods. Okay, I can actually see someone riding on the trails in the woods just on the other side of our fence. There we go. So there she managed her own regulation, her own emotions. There we go. There we go. Good. That was great. That was awesome. Okay, so I'm just going to drop the lead rope. Some people call this ground tying. I'm going to do it in a sort of safe place so she's not tucked under the trough so she's not stepping on it. And we're actually just kind of keeping an eye on what's happening in the woods. Okay, I see 1 or 2 horses out. It could be one of our neighbors plays polo, so they could be ponying their horses in the woods. Good. So you see, like, this is emotional regulation, self-regulation. Because she doesn't feel confined or restricted, she's better able to manage her own fight or flight response. Okay, so moving on. You can see I walked all the way around her. She just remains here. The grooming process. Okay, she's pretty agreeable to that. This side. And yes, I am using a mane and tail brush to curry her. That's another video. It's very effective for super fine sand that we have here in South Carolina. Okay, so that's just basic grooming. Again, the point here is the horse's perception of freedom changes the way their fight or flight response takes over. There's also quite a bit of comfort in her home environment. So Sue has been exposed to things that she kind of can't see on the other side of the trees. That trail is fairly new, however. And so, horses and people riding through there is still a little bit new to her, but she's had the opportunity to experience it, not have anything horrible happen, and so she becomes habituated to it, I guess. And we can talk about the difference between habituation and desensitization, but I think the overall goal for all of my horses becoming comfortable with unseen movement and sounds on the other side of the trees, I think that is going to be more about habituation than desensitization. So again, you can see how Sue's pretty relaxed here. So that's not just because she's eating alfalfa, although that contributes significantly. There's a greater context that allows this horse to feel comfortable enough, even when there is some possibly, I'll say frightening, but aversive stimuli that's happening out there in the world. And Siouxsie is a vigilant mare, which predisposes her to anxiety. If she were in a free-ranging herd or a wild herd, she would be the sentinel. She would be the horse who looks out for danger. She would be the one who scans the horizon. What is out there on the other side of that hill? Do I hear, smell, or somehow perceive a predator in the bushes? That would be Siouxsie's job. So compared to, say, Brody or Clarabelle, who have much calmer, more confident, inherently confident temperaments. So for Siouxsie, this is really good. This is really good. But this was just an example of how giving the horse something to do that's positive while they're in a mildly aversive situation can really take the aversity out of that situation. And it makes grooming and tacking up that much easier. If you have, let's say you want your horse to stand for the vet or the farrier or some other thing that is, like, let's just say the vet. Sometimes the vet comes and they do things that are painful, like vaccines. They stick the horse with a needle. In order to motivate the horse to do something we really want them to do, for example, stand still quietly for the vet, stand still and accept the stick in the neck. We want to increase the value of the positive association. We want to increase the value of the reward. So in this case, the alfalfa here is pretty rewarding, but I would say it's a low value reward. Freedom, meaning she's not cross-tied. I'm not even have the lead rope in my hands. Freedom is also a reward in some way. But also low value. She's like, yeah, right, and you're not confining me. Cool, that's kind of baseline, Mom. But when something is really aversive, we increase the value of the reward or the association that the animal has with the scenario. That is when we bring out the big guns. This is a delicious horse muffin. It's pretty big, so I tend to not, it's pretty big, so I tend to not give it all at once. I'll break it up in half. If I'm using it for under saddle training, I'll break it up into quarters so it's just easier to feed while I'm in the tack. But if we really want this whole scenario to be super positive and have the horse develop warm and lovey feelings about it, we're going to give them a very high value reward just for standing here without being neurotic. Woo-hoo. So I gave 2 cues. I gave the tap on the neck and the verbal woo-hoo. Let's see if we can repeat that. Not difficult when they're motivated for something delicious. Oh, she's stepping on her lead rope. There you go. Right? So no crazy panic because she has the freedom to figure out how to get out of that self-imposed restriction. And I've worked with her on this. One of the things that I do is I train my horses to walk around with a halter and a lead rope under close supervision so that they do step on it and they do figure out how to relieve the pressure on their own. So heaven forbid they get themselves into a situation that panic doesn't take over and they actually have developed the neural pathways of problem solving. I step on my lead rope, crap, I'm stuck. Let me back up and relieve the pressure. So that's the kind of critical thinking and problem solving we want to develop in horses, but they can't do that when they're constantly restricted or confined by halters, lead ropes, cross ties, or even a stall, confined spaces. She do this again. She's still stepping on her lead rope. when I give her the cue to come and take the reward, let's see how she solves the problem of not being able to lift her head to receive the reward because she's standing on her lead rope. Woohoo. Good. Right? Took 3 tries, but she figured it out without any panic, without any stress. I know this was a lot today, so thanks for following along. If you have any questions, feel free to send me an email or leave a note in the comments. I'm happy to chat about this stuff. Thanks for watching.